Good morning, Britain. Time for the banks to step up. That's the message from Martin Lewis this morning as bosses meet the financial watchdog today over concerns interest rates for savers are too low compared to the cost of mortgages.
Former DanTV presenter Fiona Phillips reveals she was scammed out of thousands of pounds after she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease at the age of 61.
Just stop the protests as Wimbledon faces calls to get tougher on protesters. What does the original eco-warrior think of their tactics of throwing glitter and jigsaws onto the grass? We'll ask Swampy, who became a household name back in the 90s for his own climate protests, after 7.
Do you ever check your partner's phone? More than a third of Brits have admitted to snooping on their other half's phone to find out if they were cheating. Let us know you ever think it's right. Get in touch.
And he's the 80s heartthrob turned Vegas residency king, but after more than a decade away, is Matt Goss swapping the bright lights of the Strip for a Bros reunion at next year's Glastonbury? Find out when we talk to him after 8.
Today, yet again, is sunshine and showers. The outlook warming up as we head into the weekend. I'll have all the details of that and more coming up on Good Morning Britain.
Thursday, 6th of July, 2023. Live from Television Centre in London. This is Good Morning Britain with Ben Shephard and Susanna Reid.
Good morning, Britain. It's just after 6 o'clock.
Morning.
How are you doing this morning? Because I know yesterday when we reported on the fact that Fiona Phillips had revealed her diagnosis of Alzheimer's, we were very aware that, of course, you know, many people on this programme work very closely with her, including you, Ben, and, of course, Kate, you as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So did it come as a shock? Did you already know?
It was it's a sort of the reality of it for Fiona is so heartbreaking because when we were working with her, of course, her father was going through his illness. She did the documentary about him and sort of working with her and sort of seeing her go through that and understand how difficult that was for her family was itself really painful.
Yes.
She's one of the, and still is, one of the most incredible people I've ever been privileged to work with. I've worked with some incredible women on The Breakfast Show on ITV.
Yeah.
A couple of them in the studio here with me now. And Fiona was, without doubt, one of the best. She still is. I mean, she still is. There's the interview that she's done in the Mirror. I'd urge anybody to read it today because she is still so feisty and Fiona in her response to the questions. And her husband, Martin, who we've also worked with because he was at GMTV with us as well, wasn't he, Kate? And they're just a brilliant team. They're a brilliant sparring team and you can see so much of what made her magical on television.
Yeah, she's a bundle of energy, isn't she?
And
yeah.
she's stubborn and she's independent and she won't, you know, she doesn't take things lightly. She won't take this lying down.
No.
She's going to keep battling.
Yeah.
And I was, like I said, it was a privilege working alongside her for so many years and I still think of her regularly. Someone sent me a lovely sort of clip of some of the madness that we used to talk about, the killer slippers segment that went on across a whole TV show. She was convinced that slippers were the most dangerous thing in a house.
They do account for an awful lot of accidents.
Yeah, this was her point.
To Fiona Phillips.
And then it became apparent across the course of the show there were slipper amnesties up and down the country because people were very worried about slippers. But it was just one of those wonderful things that Fiona had this way of capturing in a very unique way, sort of a bit of joy and fun and humour in what could be very difficult times as well. And my heart sort of goes out to her and the boys and Martin as well, because it's you know, sadly, it's something that is happening too often and people are going through it. And she's been through it so vividly.
Mum and Dad.
Yeah, Mum and Dad.
Wasn't it?
Yeah. And the thing that struck me, Kate, was, and, you know, we both relate to this, is that some of the symptoms, she kept thinking, well, time of life, you know, you go past 50 and you start having brain fog and you start getting anxiety and you start getting all of, you know, it must be menopause. And then they just continued. Yeah. And in the back of her mind was always, is it the dreaded Alzheimer's?
Yes, because I remember in her documentary she had the opportunity to find out if she had, you know...
The gene.
The gene.
Yeah.
And I believe I'm right in remembering, Fiona, you'll correct me if I'm wrong, that she chose not to because she had both parents had gone through it and she'd nursed them through it. And, of course, it's the last conversation I had with her was only a few weeks ago. What she was doing was talking to me about Derek, full of love for Derek, very close to Derek, and thinking about me dealing with Derek. And, of course, I now think that she must have had in her mind that she would come to a place where Martin and her sons were going to be needing taking care of her. And it just makes me feel emotional thinking about that must have been going through her mind and still is.
But you know what she's like as well.
Wonderful.
She won't want any sympathy. She won't want you.
She keeps saying, "I'm not even thinking about it."
Absolutely. The thing that will, genuinely, the thing that will really bother Fiona is whether Chelsea can turn their season around next season. Pochettino's going to come in. You know, she needs to get the Blues back and winning, and the fact that we're talking about her and talking about this is really, really important, so people understand sort of the need to get help and be. But she won't want people to feel sorry for her.
No.
And
she's
going to fight on, I think.
Yeah, she's going to leverage what's happening to her to try and make things better for other people. Yeah. Let's find a treatment. Yeah. Let's work towards a cure. Let's make life better for the families of those who are affected. You're absolutely right. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that, of course, this morning because, you know, a follow-up interview today in the Daily Mirror. But our main news this morning is that bank bosses have been summoned to a meeting with the UK's financial watchdog today over growing concerns, of course, that savings rates are lagging so far behind the soaring costs of mortgages and loans. Yeah,
MPs on the Commons Treasury Committee claim the banks have been profiteering and failing in their social duty to promote saving. Our chief correspondent, Richard Gaisford, is in Surrey for us this morning. Morning, Richard. So the lenders have already been criticised for high mortgage costs. Today's talks about savers missing out.
Yeah, and effectively today, Ben, you have the executives from the big four banks, Barclays, Lloyds, HSBC, NatWest, hauled before the Financial Conduct Authority to explain why returns for savers are currently so poor when the mortgage rates are so high. Take a look at the figures and you can see they kind of speak for themselves. The Bank of England base rate at the moment currently 5%. It's gone up 13 times in a row, could go even higher as the Bank of England looks to battle inflation. That has pushed mortgage rates sky high for so many people. The current two-year fixed average is currently 6.47%. Now take a look at what the average savers rate is for an easy access account on the high street, 2.43%. There is a big differential. The suggestion is that banks are maximising their margins, looking to make profits. We've heard from the chair of the Treasury Committee that returns for savers are measly, and she's not the only one who is urging the banks to take action.
The banks have put the borrowing rates up, but they haven't put the savings rate up by the same amount. Now, look, when the banks were in trouble in the financial crisis, we, the state, the taxpayer, we bailed them out. Now our economy is on the verge of recession and there's an inflation crisis. We need them to step up to the plate and help our economy in return.
Well, the banks have been saying that the mortgage rates, savings rates aren't linked, that they constantly review the savings rates. It does look like, though, Ben and Susanna, that today could be the start of them either being forced or shamed into taking action, with the Chancellor saying he would back the Financial Conduct Authority in doing that.
All right, Richard, thank you. That's our main news this morning, and we'll talk to the Labour leader, Sir Keir Starmer, about that and other issues after 7, plus Owen Jones and Quentin Letts are here shortly discussing today's headlines. First, though, here's Kate with the rest of the day's news.
Thanks very much indeed, you two.